Welcome. Okay, so let's go over the steps to solving equations. So math is the same all throughout math. It's really steps and rules. Can you apply the steps and rules to get to the answer? So for the steps for solving equations is you always want to do the distributive property first. And the distributive property is when you have, like something on the outside times two terms in the inside. You multiply the outside term by both of the inside terms. So usually, before we even get into solving equations, we learned how to do the distributive property. So that should be review, right? If I have something like this, you get 3x minus 9. If I have something like this, I have negative 8x plus 8. So that's the distributive property. You always do that first. You always go in the PEMDAS order, right? Parentheses first. The second step is combining like terms on both sides of the equal sign. So let's say I have 2x plus 3x plus 2 equals 5 plus 4. You're combining like terms on both sides of the equal sign first. A common mistake I see is students will combine terms on opposite sides, like they'll add the 2 with this. So look at the equal sign like it's a wall. Do not break through the wall. Do not combine terms on opposite sides of the equal sign, only on the same side. Because with inverse operations, you're going to be moving terms around. So the rules never change for inverse operations. Please remember them, write them down, whatever helps. So when something is being added, to move it to the other side, you subtract and vice versa. So let's say I had x plus 2 equals 4. I minus the 2 to the other side, and I get x equals 2. You minus it to the other side because you want this to zero out. And this is a scale. If you think of it, the equal sign means both sides are the same. They are the same amount. They must always be the same amount, even when you move stuff around. So if you think about it, if I had a positive 2 on this side and I minus it on this side, you would minus it on the other, because whatever you do on one side of the equation, you always have to do on the other. They must be equal at all times. If I had x minus 2 equals 4, I would add the 2 to the other side, because negative 2 plus 2 gets you 0. So whatever you do on one side of the equation, you do on the other. If I have something that is being multiplied, like 5x equals 10, you divide. So when something is being multiplied, you divide it to the other side and vice versa. Because if I did 5x divided by 5, that would just get me x. And this would just get me 2. So x is 2. Right? Your goal is to always get the variable all alone. If I had 3 over x, x over 3 equals 3, I would multiply this 3 to the other side, and I would get x equals 9. So just know when to move stuff around correctly. When something's being added, you subtract. When something's being subtracted, you add. When something's being multiplied, you divide. When something's being divided, you multiply. It's that simple. Okay, so let's try and solve a few equations. We'll start from the more easier ones to the more difficult ones. So the thing with solving equations is the only way you're going to get better at them is by doing them over and over and doing different types of problems. So you have to do different types of problems. You have to keep practicing. If you get one wrong, see why you get it wrong. See what step you got wrong, and that will help you improve. So for number 1, what is your goal? Your goal is always to get this variable alone. How do you do that? You do distributive property, combine like terms, and move stuff around to isolate the variable, which is called inverse operations. So if none of those are present in your problem, like if for the first one right here, there is no distributive property. There is no combining like terms on each side. So just go to step 3, inverse operations, which means moving stuff around to isolate the variable. So always add and subtract first before multiplying and dividing, unless you have a special scenario, which you may for like number 2. So the first step I want to do here is minus the 2 to the other side. That way it zeroes out over here. Whatever I have on one side of the equation, whatever I do on one side of the equation, I do on the other. So I now have n over negative 2 equals, well, negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4. So now it's the rules, right? When something's being added, you subtract. When something's being divided, you multiply. So by multiplying both sides by negative 2, this cancels out, right? Because that gets you negative 2n over negative 2, which is just n. And negative 4 times negative 2 is equal to 8. And that's the answer. You could even check your answer. So all you have to do is just plug in 8 into your problem here. Does 8 divided by negative 2 plus 2 equal negative 2? Well, that gets you negative 4. Negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. Yes, the answer is correct. N equals 8. Okay, so for this one, we cannot add and subtract first. You can't just subtract 5 out of the fraction. Fractions don't work that way. So what do? You multiply this negative 2 to cancel out, right? And then you multiply the other side by negative 2, because whatever you do on one side, you must do on the other. So you now have negative 4 equals p plus 5. Now I can minus the 5 to the other side. And I get negative 9 equals p. And same thing, you can check your answer. If you plugged in negative 9 plus 5, negative 9 plus 5 is negative 4. Negative 4 divided by negative 2 is 2. So if you have to pause the video even to, look at it, please do so. Okay, so these are the more challenging ones that have the distributive property. So here, you want to do the distributive property first. So I have 48 equals 4b minus 16b plus 12. I did the distributive property, right? Negative 4 times 4b, negative 4 times negative 3. Now I need to combine like terms on the the right side of the equal sign. 4b minus 16b is negative 12b and plus 12. Now I need to move stuff around to isolate the variable. I'm going to move the 12 to the other side. So how do you isolate the variable? Well, you need to get rid of all the other numbers around it, right? You should just have b by itself. So now I have 36 equals negative 12b. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 12. I get b equals negative 3. And you can even plug it in to check it if you need to. So really with solving equations, all of this, the steps are always the same. You're really just doing different problems. That's the only thing. So it takes practice. I'll do one more before we go. Let's go to a more challenging one. We're not at this level yet. You will have other videos that do more advanced ones. So let's do number 9. Well, not more challenging, but we're going to do a different type. So first I'm going to add 8 to both sides. I get negative 5x. Careful with your integers. Those will get you. Integers are the number one mistake I see in math. So I have negative 63 plus 8, which is negative 55. Divide both sides by negative 5, and I get x equals 11. And so those are different types of problems. I recommend just practicing and trying to get the steps down. Once you get the steps down with these, they're easy. Okay, so good luck. Let me know if you have any questions at all.